April 9th. Has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes from March 19th?
Yep.
Any comments, any changes, any concerns?
Move the minutes of March 19th as presented.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Minutes have been approved. Next thing I'd like to do, rather here, is we have a the next thing in your package is a request for a transfer from the reserve fund. If you remember, I believe it was at the last meeting 3 weeks ago, we turned down a request for the remaining $14,858.70 that's in the general reserve fund for legal fees. Legal fees have been significantly more than was budgeted, and now the town administration has come back again with basically for the same request, and I believe it's, they're coming back to us because the general counsel has sent in a request wanting to know why he has not been paid. The oldest invoice is for $7,025, and it goes back for some services in December and January. It's basically his $7,000 a month retainer fee. We pay a fixed fee to general counsel of $7,000 a month, and this is obviously, I would call it the January invoice. I see that we have Gloria and Elaine here, and Josh. If anybody would like to make a comment on this, you're welcome to.
I think you said it all.
Okay. Is there any comment or any further questions here on the committee? One thing that I am at the point where, in fact, I believe I'm not sure how I voted last time. I don't like holding up vendor invoices, whether I'm in industry or government or private for that matter. So that my preference is to pay this invoice and use the rest of this reserve fund to pay as much of the legal fees as we can. On the other hand, that will bring our reserve balance to zero. So for any so-called emergencies for the rest of the year, we won't be able to help. And we do have April, May, June. We do have almost 3 months to go in the fiscal year. One compromise that I had thought of is to consider reducing or approving the request at perhaps there's an invoice for $828 and one for the $7,025, so that if we approve the invoice or the request for about $7,852.70, it would leave $7,000 in the account, and it would show a good faith effort to pay our lawyers. Does anybody have any thoughts on that?
Well, I think you'll be back in the same pickle in a couple of months with the February bill. So
We are in that pickle, and as we go into tonight's business, you'll see that there's a warrant article where there's a request, we'll be going to town meeting to transfer $150,000 from other budgets for FY19 that haven't had to be used in order to pay legal bills. So that, that would be, if that passes at town meeting, we would be able to pay, these outstanding invoices, say, May 5th or whatever.
I've got a separate question, kind of. So I'm looking at these invoices, and the ones that you're talking about, we approved money for that already. These invoices are in our reserve fund request from February that we approved, not the one that we didn't approve a month later. So,
Talking about 24,000.
yes. These are the same invoices here.
That's not what was paid though. For some reason, what was paid was different than what was on that reserve fund. Unfortunately, what was the paperwork got mixed up as far as the months. So the later month came through for payment, where the earlier month was not paid.
Okay.
What's the earlier month? Because if, Laura, you're saying that this.
December and January,
This is
that
what we
was on the
approved in
reserve
February.
fund
The
request.
same as what's in our sheet today.
Yeah.
And it's
But
the same
that's
with
not
the
what
next
was
one.
paid. It was the later bill that was submitted for payment. I put the money in the reserve fund. They brought over their legal bills to be paid. That's what was paid, but it didn't match what was approved.
So what month was paid?
I believe, I want to say January for Clifford and Kenny, I think.
This is the meat Tellerman cost.
Right.
Yeah.
So it would appear to me that there's a possibility that the Labor Council invoices were paid and the General Council invoices have not been paid.
That is correct.
I find that a bit disturbing, to be
I-
perfectly honest.
Because I noticed it was in our one that we turned down last month, the same invoices were here again, so it's kind of what had me.
Yeah, and if we've approved something based on backup that was given to us, we would anticipate that that's what would have been paid.
I agree. With that being said, I have no objections if the committee's bent is to reject this one the same as we rejected the one from last month.
Under the circumstances.
Okay, make a motion for the reserve fund request of $14,858.70 as presented.
Second.
All in favor? All opposed?
Opposed.
Abstained? 041. I think the next thing I'd like to do is to go right into the warrant articles. And as we do that, the first warrant article I guess we should do is, I gave you a copy of the latest draft of the warrant towards the back of that package that we found in front of you.
So it looks like, are you talking about the one with just Article 3 or all of the articles?
We're going to get to 3, but
Okay.
all of the articles for
All right,
now.
so
The
this-
one that says draft, and it's,
Okay, so it's showing Articles 1 and 2 on the front cover.
that's correct.
Okay.
Okay, so that with that, we've done some, I think I sent you a summary, and that's in the package here somewhere, we need to get to it, of the articles that we had done last meeting and the articles that we need to do tonight. Okay, so the first one we need to do is the equipment article. I'm sorry, it's the FY19 operating budget supplement. This is where the towns are allowed to, at this time of year, to go in and look at budgets that are probably going to be underrun in the current fiscal year, and budgets that are going to be overrun, and to make some transfers to, in effect, balance out the accounts. So that you can see, is everybody on Article 2 okay? On Article 2 here, it looks like that we're going to, the article is going to request that the town meeting approve transferring $180,600 from various accounts to other various accounts to cover overages. The big one being the legal expenses, where they're looking to transfer $150,000 to cover these legal invoices that we've been talking about ad nauseum. And you'll notice that the big item where it's coming from is $95,000 coming from the veterans' medical benefits. I looked back at this account, and it looks to me that we tend to budget $300,000 every year and spend about $200,000.
For a while there, we were up at 310. There was actually one year where we actually had to go for a transfer because there were a number of people who required service in town. But I think based on our conversation with Mr. Martin, I would agree with you that those costs have been more conservative in perhaps the last 2 fiscal years.
Right. So does anybody have any questions concerning?
I do have a question on this, and it's a question for Carol. So there's 2 line items in here about snow and ice. So did we not have an overage? We had a surplus in snow and ice this year because of our relatively mild winter.
Yep.
So my question for you is, if these transfers were to go through coming out of snow and ice, when you report your snow and ice budget to DOR, will the adjusted budget show as a reduction and therefore jeopardize our ability to deficit spend in a future year?
I don't have the answer. I don't know. I'll check with DOR.
I think it might, because I think you have to report your adjusted appropriation
Right.
for the fiscal year, and if it's reduced,
Then it will.
then
okay.
we can't deficit spend.
All right. I don't know.
So I'm not inclined to support that because that concerns me.
But either way, we haven't spent the money.
It doesn't matter, it's the appropriation, they look at the appropriation. And you can't, if you reduce your appropriation in a given year, you're not authorized to deficit spend in the following year.
But we've got 60.
So that's
I don't understand.
61,000.
Yeah, we've got 60+ thousands
61,600.
that could
That-
be used towards some of this other stuff in your.
So what do we do?
Yeah, I wouldn't touch snow and ice, because I believe that it would jeopardize our ability to deficit spend next year.
So is it,
If that holds true, we'll make an amendment on the floor.
From where, though?
I don't know. We'll have to relook at what's available by then.
Okay, then, I personally am inclined to hold off and see where this falls. That's just my position.
I personally like voting on these and having something down that Finance Committee is either in favor or not in favor of recommending something. Does the majority of the committee prefer to hold off and not vote on this until town meeting floor? Or possibly we're gonna meet in 2 weeks, it wouldn't be printed, but we could vote then.
Go ahead.
By that point in time, will we know whether that,
Yeah, I think
It's
it will
true?
be a phone call, yeah, yeah.
okay.
so we could still have a vote before.
But you see what I'm saying, right?
Printed.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
what I'm
That's
hoping, yeah.
fine.
Is that all right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would be inclined to do that.
All right, so the very first one Carl Pike wanted to get through, we would defer.
But we're in under the 10-minute mark.
Yeah, all right. Article 3 is the operating budget. Now I'd like you to take the package that I gave you that just shows Article 3 on the top of it. And I want you to turn to the second page. If you remember, at our last meeting, you gave me authorization to do some, I don't like to call it negotiating, but working with the administration to come up with a joint united budget. One of the objectives, I believe, we always should go to town meeting with the Finance Committee, the Board of Selectmen, and the town administration agreeing on one budget. So with that, I sat down with the town administration and went through some items. This first sheet is a summary of the items that I agreed to. If you remember, you gave me I requested authorization for a net of $25,000. I agreed to increase the accountant's budget by $10,000. We had reduced it by $12,000. I agreed to put it back to where it needs to be if in fact the town accountant is going to be promoted to finance director during fiscal 20. The assessors, we had taken some money out of labor. I agreed to put back $10,000 for additional staffing. Solid waste, the town administration had reduced their budget to very low. They asked to add $5,000 back for overtime. Council on Aging, we had had much discussion about the grant being used to cover the outreach counselor. The 5,000, we had reduced at $5,000. Previous to that, the administration had reduced it $17,000 with the idea that the grant would cover it. The administration and the Council on Aging felt strongly they wanted to add that back so that they would have the grant still available for other items. The last one, the difficult one for me, was facilities. We had reduced facilities somewhat arbitrarily, but based upon a very large increase, we had reduced it by 50%. The desire was to put that back, $15K for repairs and maintenance, and the balance in electricity. So that was basically $60,000 of increases that I said I thought I could agree to if we had some offsets. The offsets were a $17,742 reduction in overtime at the fire department. That gets us down to a net expense reduction of $42K. With that, we looked at the revenue. We believe that the revenue for the other new growth was in there at $400,000. We believe that that was pretty conservative, so we increased that to $420,000, so that what you're seeing here is a net change to the budget of $22,126. Anybody have any question? And I know a couple of those items, I suspect a couple of my fellow members here have mixed emotions. The Council on Aging, I know that was somewhat very sensitive to a couple of people in one direction and very sensitive to another person or two in the other direction. I would look at that as one that, you know, whenever you're trying to come to an agreement, nobody ever gets 95% or 100% of what they want. I believe that by agreeing to this one, we got some other reductions to stand that we had been trying to do. So I give anybody an opportunity to speak out.
I would just say that on the premise that you were authorized to do this, and clearly there's a lot of negotiating that went into this, I think we should accept what you did for us.
Okay.
I have a question,
Sure.
and I don't know if you know off the top of your head or somebody can refresh my memory, but the $10,000 in additional staffing support for the assessor's office, what's that for? Is that for another part-time body? Is it a data collector? Is it full-time? Is it a wage increase? Do we remember?
No, yeah, that was to have more part-time support from either.
Shared clothing?
Yeah, I was gonna say probably a shared person, because it was in the budget.
So does that mean that we have a part-time person on the clerical staff now who would be going to full-time in order to provide hours in there?
Could I answer that?
Carol, please.
Yep. What's going on was, the person in there now isn't part of the clerical pool.
Not the department
position-
head, you're talking about the other person, right? Are they both
Right.
wage and personnel?
No,
Sorry.
I'll just say
Okay.
names because it's easier. Kenda is clerical, Paula is the person that we're talking about. She's clerical pool, okay? Next year, that position will be a clerical union part-time. Paula would most likely go over to that position if she's the one chosen. 18,000 was asked for by the department, and 10,000 got knocked off by the first meeting of FinCom. So that's where we are. It's not going to be a full-time position, it's just gonna be a part-time.
If I may, I just want to
Yes.
say it's not benefit eligible.
Excellent.
So when you say part-time, is it a 19-hour-a-week person in the clerical pool?
No, not in the clerical pool, it'll be a clerical.
No, I mean right now. So this person, Paula, I
Yes.
don't know who she is, but,
Yes.
and I presume it's a she. She's currently a 19-hour-a-week person in the clerical pool?
Right, I don't think she works 19 hours, but that's the type of position it is, yeah.
Okay. Do we know how many hours she works?
Let's see, what, 14 now, two on Mondays and Wednesdays, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit, no, it's never less than 14.
I guess where I'm going with this, I'm just asking is she at a wage level right now where this 10,000 brings her up to 19, or would we expect to see a reduction in the budget for clerical pool?
You would see a reduction in the clerical.
Okay, so then does this really need to be 10,000? Do you see what I'm saying?
If it's just changing from the bucket, it's
Well,
the same
if it's
person,
only
same hours.
needs to
The
fund and
clerical pool is through the selectmen's office.
Right.
right.
Not through,
So you're just changing her to that position. She's there.
I guess I'm looking for the fund if there's an offsetting reduction if this is.
I
but-
don't believe there's any real offsetting reduction, because the clerical pool in the Board of Selectmen's office had been brought to practically zero. Correct, Gloria?
There's a little bit in there, but not a lot.
Not much. And that when we took this out, we were in effect saying, hey, you Board of Assessors, administration, have to figure out how to reduce the hours of the people that are in there now. And now, by putting it back, saying, hey, we'll bite the bullet one more time. There was a lot of discussions. I think we all know that there's been some noise about that department. I had a lot of discussions about the fact that I would consider adding this 10,000 back because of management's efforts at doing something constructive, proactive in there by having our town accountant Carol managing or supervising that department. And I, in effect, said that, hey, I'll go along with, let's do this year and let's see what kind of progress we have a year from now.
So, and I don't disagree, and I don't necessarily have an issue with the 10,000 and the objective for this position. I was looking to see if there was a corresponding offset to some degree in another department. That being said, Carl, thank you for sort of working within the parameters that we talked about at our last meeting. And while we may have different feelings on some of these line items, because some of these are, they're the ones that, of course, we had a lot of conversation about. So, of course, they're on both sides. So it's not surprising to see them on this list. But my observation is that ultimately we didn't. This isn't a reduction in the budget per se or a compromise of 25,000, because part of it is increasing revenue. So when we looked at the $60,000 in increased expenses, there wasn't a corresponding full offset of existing expenses to bring it down. So just to be clear that this is, we all understand what we're looking at here. This is a reduction of less than what we were anticipating. That being said, I think that.
And that being said, I'd like to go on to the next page.
Okay.
Carol, did you want to
yeah,
add
I
something?
do want to say, there was another offset in addition to the fire overtime. The other offset was health insurance, 22,000 for the council on aging was coming from health insurance.
That's right, we did make that. I'm sorry, I missed that one. I was trying to figure out, yeah.
Okay, so in addition to the 17,000 that we see here, you're saying add another reduction of 22,000, so the net is actually
That's
zero.
correct.
So we fully funded these increases with offsets.
That's
With the
Oh, I make
exception
a
of
motion.
25,000, yeah.
That's correct.
Okay, fantastic.
What I wanted to point out on your next page is the budget, okay? number one, I want to tie this, see how this, I want everybody to see how this ties into the article itself. But from my point of view, the important thing, since I've been on the committee working with these budgets, is if you look about, I don't know, 6 or 8 lines down, you see where I've got a line that says budgeted excess levy capacity. Okay, everybody see that line? Budgeted excess levy capacity, okay? And that's, I consider that a memo line. That to me is the amount less than 2.5% that we have budgeted each year. So for instance, in FY17, we actually budgeted less than we could have with 2.5% maximum of $455K. FY18, we did a $745K. FY19, $650K. And this year, $504K. So that if we take the prior year, take 2.5%, that's one number, a factor that's a maximum that you can increase for that item. You have other things like new growth, other revenues, but you know, that says to me that is always one of my goals, is to say we're not taxing to the max. I know everybody loves that term, tax to the max. Well, the way I try as a finance committee member to say that I'm not doing that is by having, I like to see closer to $1 million that hasn't been utilized. But, you know, we've been fortunate in being able to keep that at least $500,000. So does everybody understand that concept and what we're doing there? The next item is, if we go back to the front page, the motion itself, you'll see that the town appropriate the sum of $49,332,453. If you look at the budget sheet that you were just looking at, the total expenditures, departmental expenditures, is $49,332,453. So that's how you get from the budget that we've been working with all year to the motion for the actual operating budget on town meeting floor. Now, a lot of times we, on Finance Committee, have not approved, you know, the motion itself or the article itself, because we've always been approving the budgets individually as we go. I think this year I'd like to have a formal vote on the budget, Article 3, that you see here. So can I have, unless somebody has some questions, can I have a motion?
Are you talking about a vote on the language, a vote on the?
No, on the operating budget, Article 3.
Okay. Can I just, wait, I just want to make sure that I'm sure you triple checked this math.
No, Carol did for me.
Okay.
And she found a dollar mistake, so.
There's always a
took
rounding,
care
we
of
always,
it.
yeah.
The 909, is that?
Hang on a second, something's wrong. $49,332,453, okay, all right. Can I just expand a teeny bit on your
Certainly.
description? Because I think your description was very good. Oftentimes when people see this cover sheet at town meeting and we're voting this number here in Article 3, I know I get a lot of questions on why aren't we voting the full number of the budget of the $49,665,679 down the bottom. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is, see these items down here in the bottom section? Those are covered in other articles that get voted at town meeting. Does that make sense? So by the time we finish town meeting and finish the warrant, we have voted the entire budget. But so Article 3 is just this piece right here of the departmental expenses. These other ones are covered in other articles.
And you'll notice while you're on that page too, down the bottom, that the total, which I'm showing a total expenditures increase of 2.6%. I like to adjust that because that includes the so-called town net metering. And that, the non-town net metering, as we all know, it has to do with the turbines. And this year, we've actually reduced from 2 million to 1.8 million, the revenue and the expense. It's a zero item, 2 million revenue, 2 million expense, or this year, 1.8 million revenue, 1.8 million expense. But the fact that we've reduced it this year distorts the percentage increase a bit. So that if you take that item out, which really isn't an operating item, my very bottom line is comparing 47,865,000 to 46,418,000, so that the real increase is 3.12%. You know, sometimes I think that's something that an accountant understands and recognizes and likes to talk about. But
I think it's incredibly important.
It you know, it is, you know, a fact of life that, you know, if you're looking at the real expenditures of the town, they've gone up 3.1%. The rest of the package I've given you, you can look at your leisure. There's 2 sheets that I've been doing that have to do with the changes we've made during the process. And the last 5 sheets are the actual detailed budget sheets that came from the Munis budget system that Carol is maintaining.
Looks good. Just to make a comment, so I was disappointed to not see an article in the warrant regarding non-town net metering in our conversations that we had back in January, because it's an incredibly important issue, and there's ramifications. They go into excess levy capacity and other things, aside from just skewing the budget numbers. So I did have a conversation this week, I think it was this week. Yesterday. Brief conversation with Carol, who has indicated that we should expect to see a warrant article for this fall's town meeting to address this situation that we had talked about at a couple of our meetings, because for me, this is a critical issue. Okay, all right.
Excellent.
So that being said, on Article 3?
Yes,
Just
recognize.
Thank you. Just so, as long as we have the language in place, because I think that was part of the confusion with everything, is nailing down the language with legal and everything else on that article.
Okay, so are we gonna have an opportunity to weigh in?
Yeah, I believe you initiated it, so yeah.
Oh, okay, well, it sort of died on the vine, never
Okay.
heard back.
Yeah, like Carol said, it'll be there in the fall.
And I think that we probably could have pursued it a bit stronger than we did too, so I don't want to put all of it, you know, on Carol and the town administration.
Okay. Make a motion on Article 3, as presented. Fair enough?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. We did Article 4, we did Article 5, we did Article 6, 7, 8, Article 9, Article 10, we did not do. It's the wage and personnel article, and I just received a note here from Carol as I walked in the building that we're going to change it by $136. Anything for the town accountant. So the long and short of it is that it's raising $49,518 now for the changes that have been made by the Wage and Personnel Board. I had calculated this at about $45,000, and when I was calculating my $45,000, it was just the general without the water and sewer. So that this is basically the 2% cost of living, and there weren't any significant adjustments this year.
Were there any I wasn't here for the conversation. Were there any position reclassifications?
There were 2 or 3, but I'm not sure that they even had a wage impact. That it was that insignificant.
Okay. So Carol, did you just say it was going to be changed by $136?
Right, because
So does that have to do with the community preservation? or-
Yes, they put it in their budget at the higher amount, including the 2% on their article.
so they've already budgeted for the increase.
Yeah, so I'm
Oh,
taking
so,
it
all
out.
right, so we're reducing. All right, so
Yeah.
so that language here is going to be stricken. The sum of 136 to be appropriated from CPA is coming out of here.
Yep.
So with that, can I have a motion on Article 10?
I move we favorably what?
I recommend favorable action.
Favorable action, that's the word I was looking for, on the adjusted amount of $49,518 for Article 10.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500.
Can you open that up? Sorry.
I know, that's what I said, it's hot.
It's,
in
I don't know
here.
why it's super hot in here tonight. All right, it's not just me.
No, it's awful.
I'm sorry. Thanks, Carl.
And just, I'm beyond the time of hot flashes, so it's not that, just so we're clear.
Article 11, we've already done. Article 12 is the capital equipment funding article. We have talked a lot about the capital equipment. We were at $520,000 when we last talked. The capital equipment committee, the capital planning committee approved all of the items except a piece of equipment for the buildings, the roads, street roads and parks. The front end loader was being purchased, the, what's the opposite? Backhoe. I was gonna say, what's the opposite of front end? Back. The backhoe, we did not approve, so that it's a total now of $488,500. I think we've talked about it, I think it's pretty straightforward, and we're paying the 3rd and final year of the ambulance leases. We're purchasing a small tractor for the schools. Paying the 2nd year on the front end loader lease. 2 police cars. I think this town, from what I have seen, is going to have to bite the bullet and plan on buying 2 police cars every year. We're buying a new vehicle for an F-150 truck as the command vehicle for the fire department. The one they have is over 200,000 miles and I think about 12 years old. Any questions? Motion, please.
Motion that we recommend.
Oh, I'm sorry, are we going to vote these individually, because it looks like the other committees did, or are we going to?
Yeah, I think we probably should, in case anybody.
So can I ask a question? So this, one of these says $28,500 net of an $8,000 trade-in. So is it really a $36,000 purchase, or is it going to be $20,500?
It's going to be, the estimate, the quote is $36,500.
Okay.
And the quote includes an $8,000 credit for trading in the
Okay.
current tractor.
All right, just a little confusing. So 28.5 is the final number, net of, okay. Sometimes when you put those in, it just generates confusion, but, okay.
I'll make a motion that we go favorable on Article 12, project number 1.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I make a motion that we vote favorably on Article 12, project number 2, Smith's Lane Fire Station boilers, pumps, tanks.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
I'll make a motion that we vote favorably, recommend favorable action on Article 12, project number 3, 35,000 for Vision version 8 software for the
Second.
assessors.
All in favor?
Aye.
I make a motion that we recommend to vote favorably, recommend favorable action on Article 12, project number 4, $72,500 to purchase 25 portable radios for the police department.
Second.
I have a question on that one.
Yes.
So when we purchased radios last year, I believe it was, for the fire department, there was a grant available to offset significant portions of the cost. Was there one for this?
The capital planning committee asked the chief that in at least 2 different meetings I was at, and he said absolutely no. That, you know, he's gotten, he just got a grant for a new server. You know, you have to get the grants that are available, and there was no grant available for radios.
Motion second on the table.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Make a motion that we recommend favorable action for Article 12, Project 5, $25,000 to pay for the down payment first full year of a 3-year lease for the purchase of a Ford F-150 fire command vehicle.
Second.
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
$75,000 for a Ford F-150?
that's correct. Approximately well, it's actually probably about $68,000, $7,000 worth of finance costs on a lease. The $68,000 is probably made up of close to $60,000 for the vehicle and another close to $20,000 for the lights, all the things associated with it. We discussed this one at significant time. I think originally the cost was closer to $85,000, and we suggested, you know, find a way to get cheaper lights or, you know, do things to bring it down to about. Oh, and the other thing that's misleading, $25,000 is somewhat of a down payment, so it's not $75,000. I want to say there's a $7,000 or $8,000 down payment. So after this year,
It'll
your
decline.
the second 2 years are $18,000. So it's probably closer to a $50,000 to $55,000 vehicle plus the interest on it.
Okay, all right. That makes it a little bit more palatable that the,
Right,
the initial
right,
payment is
yeah,
higher than, okay, all right, thank you. I'm sorry, motion in a second, okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Make a motion that we recommend favorable action on Article 12, project number 6, $100,000 to purchase 2 Ford SUV patrol cars for the police department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
One thing that's important on this one to note is that, you know, these are the Ford Escape vehicles, SUVs, and they're having a major model change in FY '20. The chief already has a commitment that, you know, July 1st, he'll be able to order 2 of the FY '19s so that all of the equipment that he currently has, a lot of it can be used in the vehicles.
Okay, next. Motion for Article 12. I recommend that we recommend favorable action on Article 12, project number 7, $35,500 paid for the second full year of a 5-year lease on a Volvo front end loader for streets, trees, and parks.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
We got 1 abstention.
I recommend that I make a motion that we recommend favorable action on Article 12, Project 8, $28,500 net of an $8,000 trade-in allowance to purchase a Mahindra tractor for the KES schools.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
I make a motion that we recommend favorable action on Article 12, Project 9, $132,500 to pay for the third and final year release that purchases 2 ambulances for the fire department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? Okay, the next one is the equipment article. Again, we're going to vote this one separately. One thing that I haven't had a chance to confirm it with our administration people, but I suspect that a question that might come up is the balance of free cash. That this article uses free cash. The balance I came up with, that after all of the articles, would be approximately $464,000. Does that sound familiar to any of our administration people?
I think I came up with like 640,000.
Well, I like your number better.
I don't have an extra copy.
Do you have a worksheet on that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's okay, we'll have, okay.
I'll be right back.
So while she's doing that, why don't we, I don't want to spend a lot of time on these. You know, we had a detailed presentation on the Townhouse Archives Organization Services. So, you know, unless somebody wants to discuss that further, I am ready to vote on that. Anybody want to discuss it further?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that we really should consider this as, you know, a little frivolous in the sense that the Treasurer's Department did their own, our Finance Department did their own. If the staff in each department went up there and took one carton out a week, it'd be done in several months, and it's just a huge waste of money for what should be done, being done all along.
Okay. Anybody else have an opinion? Okay. Can I have a motion on that one?
The motion that we recommend favorable action for Article 13. First item, Board of Selectmen organizing the town archives for $50,000.
Second.
For discussion purposes, I'm just gonna mention that in the long run, I'm in favor of this. I think, though, from my point of view, it might be a bit premature to get looking for the funding. I'd like to see a little bit more done in-house in trying to get it to a better point for the outside vendors to do it. So that's just my opinion.
You're correct, the 200,000 was the difference for the school. The
I
last one
didn't
that
have
we
that in
added.
there.
So my number's okay?
Yes, because we added the 200,000 for the school, for the roof if they get the grant.
Oh,
I didn't have that.
okay.
Okay.
So anyhow, we've got a
Motion on the
a
table.
motion and a second, and we've had some discussion. All in favor? All opposed?
Opposed.
Aye. Okay, we're opposed to that one, 0-5.
And just for the record, when I said that the Treasurer's Department did theirs and the Finance Committee didn't do it, Michelle did.
Going back in, too.
Do we have that schedule in our packets?
No, I
Okay.
just did this
All right.
5 minutes before I walked in here.
Okay.
But I'll make copies.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we recommend favorable action on Article 13, item number 2, town clerk codification services, $15,000.
Second.
Is there any discussion required? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 5-0.
Can I ask a question? When we finish the warrant, are these ones gonna have numbers next to them? Are they gonna be voted individually or for the motion?
Like the article
what-
before?
Yeah, like the article above it.
That's up to the moderator if she wants, when we have the moderator's meeting, if she feels that there might be a divide between the different items, then she can split them up.
Oh, she means like this, see, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Just
Oh, with
for easy
numbers?
reference purposes.
Oh,
It's-
yeah, we could put numbers.
It's completely easier.
think we have a history of wanting to do these things. I mean, we've all been to town meeting. I think there's always a history of that, so it just makes it easier.
Yep.
So,
I'd like to make a motion that we recommend favorable action on Article 13, item number 3, the school department KISS one-time equipment for $50,000.
Second?
Any discussion required? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
we had, part of why we're not having discussion is we've discussed these in
Exactly,
previous meetings. So
exactly.
just,
That's
you
why
know,
when
if
we get to the
anybody's
second page-
looking at it and saying, why aren't they talking about these items?
The second page will be a little bit more discussion, like the conservation one, the next one here is a new one. 75,000 is be required for stormwater permit compliance. I think that, I certainly remember the last few years, and we've had Maureen come before us and talk about the need that this is gonna have to be done because of the permitting, the state requirements, et cetera. And my understanding from the town administration is that the time has come and that they felt that they can no longer be put off. I don't know, Gloria,
has
would
to
you
be
like to
done
add
this
anything
year.
to that?
This year, it does have to be done, and we just found that, Conservation just found this out about a month ago, and that's why it wasn't added in their budget, so we had to put it on.
And so what is this, covering? What kind of services?
I don't know exactly what kind of, but we have to spend the money. I don't know
So we have
exactly
to
what
spend
all.
75,000, but we don't know what we're
The
spending on.
state
Right.
is telling us because the stormwater, I don't know exactly all the specifics, but.
So I have a question on this one, because if we look in our budget book and we look at unspent articles, we've already appropriated $75,000 for this specific purpose. Where did I see it? And it wasn't spent?
I don't know much about it.
Where was it? Oh, right here, on page, under unspent articles. We've already appropriated 70,000 here, and there was another 5,000 somewhere else, so there's 75,000 already sitting there.
Correct. It's a 5-year program.
Okay, but we have funding for this particular year that we
For the-
haven't used.
For 19,
For 19.
that's gonna be used. They've engaged with the engineering for, it's gonna be
So-
the 75,000 for the next 5 years to comply with the permit.
But this was authorized in May of 17, so it would have been for FY 18, so it's available.
We just got the permit, how do I say, about a month ago, with all the conditions and terms and all of that. That was probably put aside for anticipation of this, but we just got the finalized approval for the permit a month or so ago.
So what is this 75 gonna cover? What kind of services is this gonna cover?
Engineering, they have to do samplings, and there's a whole list of things. We can provide the list.
So we're talking about 75 per year,
Yes,
okay, but we have 70 some odd in here already.
correct, for this fiscal
I
year.
would look at it that 75 is for FY 19
Yes.
right now, and this 75 is for FY 20. And then when we're doing, whoever is doing the FY 21 budget is gonna see another 75.
Right.
I guess I'm questioning, you know, we're in April, the tail end of the fiscal year, and we haven't touched this money. So do we need to appropriate this already, and let's work with what we've got, and then we come back next year and we look at the next phase?
The answer to that from conservation is yes, because again, we just got the permit a month or so ago, and now they can act on what the permit says in fiscal year 19. And, you know, we need it for the next 5 years, so, I mean, whether we pay for it this year, next year, we know we're gonna need 75,000 for the next 5. Maybe we'll luck out in some year, we only need 50, but going forward, this is what they have said they need.
I guess on this one, I'd be inclined, since we have 3 months left of the year and we have some funding available, I'd be inclined to hold off on that particular line item. We see what the rest of this year has in store, and it looks like we're having a fall town meeting, so if we need to discuss it in the fall, we do it then.
That
Okay.
makes good sense, yeah.
I think that's, you know, a good point of view, And I think the way we can get that across is that we'll vote this item, and, you know, if the vote comes out 0-5, 1-5, 4, 2-3, that will, you know, give the way it is. So, can I have a motion?
Sure. I'll make a motion that we recommend favorable action on Article 13, item number 4, conservation stormwater permit compliance for $75,000.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Opposed.
Abstained? 1-4. This next one is the $30,000 for, you know, remember when we did the budget, there was an item in there to have a outside service do the lawn mowing, lawn maintenance for the summer for $30,000. We, as a finance committee, decided that we didn't think that that was necessary at this time. We prefer having the streets, parks, and people continuing to do it. Perhaps I made the suggestion that, you know, if they're needed to do other things like clean storm drains, let's mow the lawns every 2 or 3 weeks instead of every week. But in any case, the administration feels that this is a way of doing something more efficiently, getting better use out of their people for something else. So they want to use this as kind of a pilot program and fund it through this article, free cash in effect, for this fiscal year.
So the reduction that we made in the budget is now showing up here.
That's correct.
And we have a history of knowing that pilot programs find their way right back into the budget. Did we discuss at all a compromise of 50-50?
This one, no. My compromise was to mow every other week.
I'll make a motion.
Hold on, I'd just like to recognize Elaine for a minute.
If I may, this is similar to what we did with the Pottle Street Fields. The Pottle Street Fields were in disarray, and every year we had, in this article, $25,000 in funding so they could get the fields up to speed. Now that has been rolled into their operating budget for less than $25,000 to maintain them after a few years of needing to be caught up. We're looking at this as the same thing. It's a pilot program. Maybe we can accomplish all these drains that have been neglected in 1 year. Maybe it's 2 years, but once we're there, it should be minimal to maintain them going forward. So that was the thought process. And this was generated based on a lot of flooding that happened in the rainstorms that we've had, and streets were flooded and all of that, and became more apparent that the drains needed attention. So that's what generated this.
Motion, please.
Make a motion that we recommend favorable action on Article 13, Item 5, Streets, Trees, and Parks Landscaping Services Pilot Program, and $30,000.
Second?
So just a quick comment. This is a tough one because I know we had a lot of conversations. And I do understand the need for the drain cleaning, and I appreciate you sharing that with us. I would like to truly see that this be a pilot program if it does in fact pass town meeting, and that we are able to do as much drain cleaning as possible so that we are able to take this back in-house with our staff and handle these things. So that being said, I personally would be inclined to support it despite our vigorous conversations about this in the past.
I just have one question. Was this spoken with the union?
Yes, yes.
And what was their,
I wasn't involved in the conversations.
have they agreed to it? Are they fighting it? Like, do you know?
No,
Or do you not know what they are?
they are not.
So they're okay with it?
They have not filed anything again. They are aware of this.
Oh dear God, is this going to result in
Well,
a grievance?
If you have somebody that you're in a contract with, you can't have somebody come in to do the same thing, the job and get paid for. So if my fear is If lawn mowing is in a job description, it could. So to nip that, there should be, this has to speak to the union.
There has been conversations with the union.
And
Do you,
then-
does
and
Gloria
that-
have a definitive
Yeah.
answer?
Well, the thing is that the people who are doing, the workers, employees who are doing the lawn mowing are CDL drivers. And they can do a lot more better work than
No, we
riding
get that, but
lawnmowers.
if we're talking about going out and outsourcing a function of their existing job that's covered under the contract, are we opening ourselves up to a potential union grievance because we've now put that work outside? And then we end up with problems and legal fees and issues and all kinds of things.
No, there's been conversations with the unions, and they have no problem with us outsourcing that, because they'll still be working. We're not reducing their hours.
Right.
We're not removing staff. We're not taking the service out of that department and cutting staff in that department. We're still gonna be keeping those employees that mow the lawn. So there's no grievance there. If they grieve it, they're gonna lose, because we're not reducing
No.
staff because of this service.
It doesn't matter if you reduce staff or not.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
There's been a conversation with the union management.
And you haven't heard anything negative?
No.
Okay.
Okay, I'd like to move this one along. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Opposed. 1, 4, opposed. The last one, I think we've talked about the school department, the elementary school roof. A grant request has been submitted. The school department has received word back that it's certainly being looked at. In fact, there's going to be a group from the state education department coming out here. I think it's the April 23rd, to actually take a look at the roof, to work with some of the facilities people to understand what the problems are, to discuss the town's ability to finance their portion should the grant be made. And this is $200,000 to do the initial engineering if in fact the grant is received.
Can I ask a question on funding source? So if I look at unspent articles, we have one out there for the KES HVAC project, that big project that we did several years ago. And this goes back to 2015.
Yep.
There's about $23,000 left in that article. Can we use those funds to defray the cost of using free cash to the tune of
We can look
23?
at that as an option, yeah.
Okay, I would be in support of doing that.
As long as everybody signs off on that from the school side.
Okay.
So it was KES, you said?
Yeah, there's an article out
For
here
the HVAC.
for HVAC. It was Article 8 of April 11, 2015 town meeting.
Is that something we can do before our next meeting?
I
You think
want
that was a borrow?
That was a borrowing, and so it may have to be for a project of equal life.
Scope.
Would it require a ballot vote? Because a roof would be of equal
I don't
scope.
think it would require a ballot vote, but it's gotta be for something of a like lifespan, so.
A roof is 30 years,
It
so
may be
it would be
okay.
fine, yeah.
Okay, for this one, I want us to vote on the $200,000 as it's recorded. And
Don't worry about the money.
if in fact this project goes forward, we're probably talking at least $3 million. And we'll use that 23,000 somewhere along the line, I would hope. So can I have a motion?
Make a motion that we recommend favorable action on Article 13, item number 6, School Department, Kingston Elementary School Roof Project, $200,000.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 5-0.
Do we know when we're gonna hear back from the grant application process and whether we've been
Wasn't
approved?
it July?
Yeah.
I believe it's July.
And do we know do we know definitively what the percent reimbursement would be based on our characteristics, or is that, we won't know the definitive answer until the grant award?
Correct.
Has
All
been-
that will be in the final award if we get it.
And did somewhere,
But an order of magnitude, Kyle Pike that would say that he'll bet that it'll be plus or minus 5% from 45%.
I was gonna say it's about 50, right? Did I read
Yeah.
somewhere that it was
I
about
think
50?
Halifax got 47%.
Okay,
And
we will,
we'll get a little bit less, so
Less.
that's why I say somewhere less than 45 probably.
and we'll probably pick up 60, unfortunately,
Okay.
All right, we've done Article 14, we've done Article 15,
22, I think
we've
is
done
All the way up
Articles
to 22.
up to 22. Okay, Article 22 here is the wastewater treatment plant expansion. In your package, you have the suggested form of the article in motion that the bond counsel has provided.
this thing.
It's my understanding that bond counsel, legal counsel, all the powers to be continue to review and look at this as to how it should be presented. In this case, because Elaine gave an excellent presentation to the capital committee, capital planning, on this project, I'd like Elaine just to say a couple of words to summarize the intent and how it's going to be handled, et cetera, before we vote.
Okay, I've got handouts, Laura. Okay, basically, we've been working on a plan expand,
Is this gonna be the handout that goes to town meeting? And-
after we remove
Yeah,
draft.
after we, yeah.
After tweaking, yes. This is,
But the general gist?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
For years, the sewer commissioners have been hearing that we need sewer capacity, we need sewer capacity. Because of the passage of the zoning articles last year for additional uses at the Kingston Collections with the planned hotel and residential units, and the attention Exit 8 has been getting, we've moved forward with asking for a plan expansion, wastewater plant expansion. In the handout, I list the opportunities. We received and signed a contract for $3 million from a Mass Works grant. We have 2 additional,
Well, we got a few extra zeros in that top 3 million.
I left out the period.
Because that number looks far better.
I wouldn't be sitting here if we had that kind of money.
You're done.
And then we've got applications in submitted for 2 more. One's a grant, federal grant, and the other one is the economic the economic development bond bill. Those, if we're successful, would generate another $6 million. The town has been approved for a low-interest loan from the state. It's called the State Revolving Fund. And depending on the length of the loan, the percentage would be 2.4% or 2.9%, depending if it's a 20 or 30-year loan. The project will be paid by grants, the bond bill, and additional funding wherever we can find it. Existing sewer customers who are looking for additional capacity, and that would be through betterments and connection fees, and town and country estates, if they are interested. We have been talking with them for over 1.5 years now on the potential of them connecting, because their private wastewater treatment plant is upwards of 30 years old. We are giving them the option. When we have the final numbers, which on how much this would cost for people to hook up the capacity, we're gonna have a conversation with them. If it's something that they wanna move forward on, we will move the line from Mid-Cape building to the beginning of their property. If they are not interested, we stay away from that section at all, totally, and we just concentrate on exit 8, 9, and 10, up to whoever may be interested in the capacity for that. Existing sewer customers, we're not going down 106 Wapping Road. We're not going down Route 27 or Pembroke Street. It's existing sewer customers who want additional capacity. The project itself consists of design, permitting, 2 additional sequential batch reactors at the plant, which are the 2 tanks, 2 new pump stations, and activating the transfer station leaching fields, which we had done when the transfer station was being reconfigured. We had leaching fields put underneath there,
So we're in a position to just hook that up, and that gives us additional leaching field capacity. And we're gonna evaluate the Davis property for a future leaching field if needed. That's not in this discussion. We don't think we're gonna need it, but we're gonna have all the equipment, and we're gonna do it at the same time. Estimated cost. These costs right now include a 25% contingency, which is expected to be reduced over the course of the project. It's $28 million. We have, again, guaranteed $3 million from the Mass Works grant, leaving a debt of $25 million. The state revolving fund loan is the low-interest loan up to $20 million. Again, if we get the additional funding towards this project, the cost of debt would be less than $20 million. We're also putting an option on there, on the article, if the town wants to purchase additional capacity. Right now, there's 80 acres of town-owned properties currently on the sewer line. They include the Town Hall Complex, the Reed Building, Adams Center, Harbor Masters Shack, Kingston Schools, and vacant lots on Maple Street and River Street. Without a planned expansion, development, or any other additional buildings or anything on these properties wouldn't be possible, because each property right now has sewer capacity limited to what currently exists. So if we wanted to do anything on Maple Street, the old fire station, right now that's only good for one single-family home. Being near the center of town, that could generate more activity if it had more capacity. So that's the option of the town. If they want to purchase it, fine. If not, we're still going to move forward. And just to give an illustration, a 30-year loan at 2.9%. If, and I say if, the town wants to purchase $1 million worth of capacity, that would be about $50,000 a year the town would be paying towards that debt. And that would generate, I used housing as an example, a 75-unit housing complex, 75 bedrooms, or 25 single-family homes. $750,000 debt would generate a 56-bedroom unit or 19 single-family homes. So this is what we know today. And again, the sewer line will include properties near Kingston Collections and Marion Drive to the commuter rail station, and will go down to Town and Country Estates if they want it. If we don't get the funding that we need, or we aren't able to sell the capacity needed to move forward with the project, we won't. Because at the end of the day, the project needs to be affordable to those customers who want the capacity. If it's not affordable to them, they're not going to sign up, and the project won't go forward. The key to this, since this is the Finance Committee, I didn't say this at the Capital Plan Committee, but it's revenue. If we're looking for an economic base in town, it's exits 8, 9, and 10. Just conversations you hear, 106 Wapping Road, too congested for any major developments down there or businesses. Exits 8, 9, and 10, all sewered already. That's the visibility from the highway. Exit 8 is prime for development. All businesses. We denied a 8,000 square foot office building.
8,000?
8,000 square foot office building next to Rogers and Gray on exit 8, because we do not have the sewer capacity for it. So those are the types of opportunities we're missing out on. Office buildings, medical buildings. There's a piece of property across from Mamma Mia's. 2 vacant lots there that have been vacant for many years. They've come before us, different buyers, different opportunities. Somebody wanted to put in a test kitchen for a local restaurant. Not enough capacity. There was someone who came to us for the center of town. They wanted to put in a farm-to-table store, restaurant type. We had to say no. So the opportunities are there. If we're going to be, taxes, at this point, it's about revenue while we cut services, so that's where it comes down to. We'd like your support. Again, we're not gonna move forward with any of it unless we have committed customers to sign up and pay for it.
So can we ask some questions? I know you've heard the presentation at Capitol, and I don't know if anybody else has, but.
I would suggest that we can ask some questions, some discussion for 5-6 minutes.
Okay. The two SBRs.
Yes,
Is there room up at the existing sewer treatment plant to put those up there?
yes, and if we don't have enough capacity for 2, we'll build 1.
Okay, so my question was, is there any way to cut this in half?
Yes.
And do 1, and then if at a future point in time, you'd have the room, you could add another SBR?
Yeah, it'll be the demand that will dictate whether we build 1 or 2, because right now it's the economy of scale. If everything is up there being done at the same time, we can get the second one for less than if we had to mobilize and redo it in a few years. But again, demand will decide if we build 1 tank or 2.
And what's the bulk of the cost? Is it the tanks and all of the parts themselves, or is it, I'm just wondering if it makes more sense for us to be proposing sort of 60% of the project out of the gate?
Well, it's all tied to the state revolving fund loan. We have to give them a town meeting vote by the end of June to secure that loan going forward.
All right, so to that point, Ken, what's the going rate in the market that you're seeing based on our bond rating? Are you more competitive with general obligation bonds than going through the trust?
I haven't checked carefully, but I'm gonna say like 3.5,
3.5.
something like that.
Ken and I both attended
I
a,
would also add that, so town meeting needs to approve it in May, but correct me if I'm wrong, Elaine, the drop dead date that the town has to make this commitment is in October.
no, we have the timeline, we have to have a town meeting vote to them June 30th.
No, but I mean to commit to borrowing that, that
Oh.
we've got all the users lined up.
Yes,
Is
yes,
in October.
yes,
So,
correct.
whoa, let me understand that. So if town meeting approves this in, May?
Yeah,
We need to have by October all of the customers who would be utilizing that
Mhm.
capacity
That's when we have to commit.
yeah, that's what,
to
That's
the
when we have to
trust, or to commit to
yes,
who?
To the trust.
To the trust, that we're gonna proceed with the borrowing. So
Yes.
does that put the MassWorks grant in jeopardy? Is there
No.
a deadline? I presume.
No.
Okay. Is the MassWorks grant specifically tied to this project?
yes,
Okay, so if we don't go, so it's kind of like the Thorndike thing. If we don't go forward with this project, those funds go back.
we may be able to allocate it for something else up in that area, but that's a whole nother contract, a whole nother conversation with the state. Right now, it's tied 100% to the infrastructure at Exit 8.
Okay. And the $6 million in grant, I'm asking questions in
Yeah.
the hopes that we can get the answers out and
Yeah.
not have the same questions at town meeting, but we'll see. The $6 million in grants, walk me through what the timing is when we would know about those. Does it dovetail with the October timeframe? And are those truly grants? Are they matching components? Give me a little bit more info on that. if you could.
Yeah, that's it. They're all tied together. It should be by the October deadline, and they are grants, so they would reduce the debt owed. It wouldn't be a reimbursement or a partial matching grants or anything like that. It's pure reduction of debt.
Okay, so it's a 100%, we're giving
Yeah.
you some money for this particular, and they're federal, is that what you said?
One is federal, and the other one is the state economic development bond bill.
Is the bond bill borrowing, or does it work like Chapter 90? Is it it's not a reimbursement, or is it, because when I see bond bill, I don't think grant, I think debt.
Good. We probably would have, let's say this, with the MassWorks grant, we submit them an invoice, and within 45 days, they reimburse us.
Okay, so it works like Chapter 90.
Yeah,
So
everything.
Mass works like Chapter 90, and then whatever this other piece is,
Yeah,
so we have to come up with it upfront and pay the bill, so it's reimbursement.
yeah,
All
quickly.
right. Do you happen to know, do you know the names of those two programs? I don't know if I'm familiar with
Which,
them. The $6 million programs.
well,
that you're
one
talking
is the Economic
Ec-
Development Bond Bill,
about. And the other?
and the federal grant one, I don't have the specific title, I can get it to you.
Okay. So, the capacity that we're trying to go after, gallons per day, or?
Yes.
What is it that we're trying to go after? What would this give us versus what we have today?
2 tanks would double the size of the plant. We'd get about 375,000 gallons a day. 1 tank would give us about 150,000 gallons per day.
Okay, and so for some of the economic development that you talked about, especially the ones that we've turned down, what kind of capacity would those have required if we were able to supply it?
A wide range, it could be anywhere from 2,000 gallons per day up to some of the opportunities at Exit 8, that could be up to 100,000 gallons per day.
So if we were to talk about the apartment complex and the hotel project in Davray,
Yep.
is that targeting, or is that estimated to need 100,000 gallons per day for that? If
Yes.
that project in its entirety were to go through?
Correct.
It's the whole
It's the,
property.
yeah, it would include Kingston Collections, the hotel, and the residential. It's approximately 110,000 gallons per day.
Okay, and so is that the size system that they have up there right now, is 100,000?
No, they have about a 90,000 gallon system.
Slightly
Yeah.
under.
Yeah, and we're only allowed to use 90% capacity.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that brings us to about 75,000 gallons on a daily basis that we're allowed to use.
Okay, so you're looking to increase
Yeah.
that 50%. So, septic haulers,
Mhm.
about how much capacity are we taking in via septic haulers?
It can average anywhere from 1,000 gallons a day to 5,000 gallons a day to 7,000 gallons a day. And I know thank you for asking, because that's a question that comes up frequently. And basically what it is septic haulers, they call every morning to see if we have capacity at the plant, if it's a low flow day, because flow fluctuates depending on what's going on, if it's the winter and people are away. So flow fluctuates on a day-to-day basis, so some days we can take it, some days we don't, some days we say, no, you can't, we don't have capacity. We can always say no to septic haulers, 365 days a year. If we use that capacity for a property, once we've committed to that flow, we can't say no. And for the 7,000 gallons per day that we would upwards, again, it fluctuates day to day, that we may gain, it's too close to capacity for us to be comfortable giving away that septic hauler flow. Because again, some days it's 0, some days, we could be over for that particular day, but the week averages out correctly.
All right, and then you mentioned town-owned properties like Town Hall and, I don't know what
Yeah, the
else.
schools and-
So you're saying, first off, are all of those properties on town sewer?
Yes, the ones I named are, yes,
They are.
yes.
So you said if the town is interested in buying back capacity, are we not utilizing our full capacity can you explain that portion of the project?
Oh, I probably said it wrong. If the town wants to purchase additional capacity for future development on any of those town-owned properties.
Okay, so let me make sure I understand. So we're already on sewer. We
Right.
have the capacity that we need for our existing facilities. You're
Right.
saying if we were to expand our facilities for whatever purpose, we would need to purchase additional capacity?
You would need additional capacity, yes.
Okay, and that cost is not the $1 million that you're talking?
No.
I think those two concepts blended here. So this is, that's aside. You're saying if we were to pursue this project, the town, if they needed to expand a school or what have you, would need to purchase additional capacity, it would be available with this sewer treatment expansion. Apart from that, and that's a big if, because I don't see us expanding our schools, we're seeing enrollment drop, but the town debt, walk me through this again. You're saying if the town chooses
Yep.
to increase their capacity at these facilities,
Mhm.
and let's say that choice was that we needed $1 million worth of flow, that would be our annual cost.
Correct, for 30 years.
Okay, but that, is the town factored into the expected customers for October?
No,
Okay.
no.
All right, so can you just walk me through, again, for the expected customers for October, how much sort of viable interest and capacity are we talking?
We wouldn't be pursuing this unless we felt we could at least get one tank out of this.
So 150, well, it's
About 150.
150, but then you don't use it to full capacity.
Right.
So, okay, let's just call it 120 or something, I don't know.
Yeah, again, it's gonna come down to how much it cost. You know, that, and we're not gonna know that till the summer, because we're not at 60% design yet for the facility and the project, because we need money to continue to design it. So, we're not gonna have those numbers till the summer, and that's when we will find out if this is really gonna move forward or not.
All right, so what kind of investment do we need to make over the summer to determine whether we're gonna move forward with the project or not?
Well, it's us being able to get a positive vote at town meeting, so we can spend the Mass Works grant and the different,
So
other funding that we're gonna
So we wouldn't
get.
borrow until we know.
Correct. We're not
Okay.
gonna borrow till we have a firm commitment.
So, and the Mass Works grant would allow us to undertake those expenditures for engineering and exploration. And if we determine that the project is not viable, and we walk away from it, we don't have to reimburse those Mass Works monies?
Well, that's why we're waiting for the positive vote at town meeting. We're not gonna move forward on anything unless we get a positive vote. And Mass Works, if some pieces, we can move forward on without any issues. We're not gonna put ourselves in debt, whether it's the sewer customers or the town. We're not gonna take a gamble and borrow anything or have to reimburse any money. We're being very careful based on the language on what we will do with what's available to us.
Okay, I guess I'm trying to understand that piece. So if we're talking about a $28 million project,
Mhm.
but we need to spend, we need to provide services, engineering, and I'll just call it sort of project scope. And we determine after, if we do that from, July through September, and we've now invested $500,000
Mhm.
in field testing and what have you, and at the end of September, let's just say we got a positive vote at town meeting. We move forward, we spend $500,000 of the Mass Works grant money to do the initial project scope. And at the end of September, we realized there's just not enough interest to take this on. Can we stop the project without borrowing and without having to repay that Mass Works money?
Yes.
Okay, so Mass Works will allow us to use it for, not for a project that may or may not happen.
No, we're gonna have other financing, not financing, other revenue that we can be utilizing to get us to the point we need to be. So
Okay.
it's important that we get the economic development bond bill. It's important that we get the federal grant. Those funding sources a little bit more flexible than Mass Works grant.
Okay, you can swap any funding source for where I said Mass Works grant. So any one of
Yeah,
those
but if anybody's
non-town
watching from the
monies.
state, you
Fair
gotta be
enough.
careful with what's
Any one of
said.
those non-town sources. So before we commit,
Yes,
if we were to move forward, we'd be able to invest some money to do the exploration, determine the viability. So then would we need to go back to town meeting in the fall? And how do we decide, or who determines, or what action causes the project to stop?
the sewer commission is not having commitments, or the project not being affordable to get commitments.
So does it require a future town meeting action? I mean, eventually, other than rescinding the debt vote?
No.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm sorry, but it's been 15 minutes that we've been asking questions, so I think that I want to move forward on it. I think that, thank you, Lane, thank you for your questions.
Sorry, if anybody else had any others?
I will give other members of the committee the opportunity if they'd like to ask questions.
Mary covered it.
Okay. With that being said, can I have
Thank
a
you.
motion?
recommend that we, I move that we recommend favorable action on Article 22, the wastewater treatment plant and expansion as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
I'm abstaining.
So what do we have here?
311.
311.
311? You were
I was in favor.
in favor. 3 in favor, 1 opposed.
And I'm abstaining because I haven't had a chance to read the language and know what I'm committing to. That's all.
Okay. We have a lot to cover tonight,
Yep.
and I really think that we need to get through these things. The next one is the water treatment plant. I think that we all have certainly either been in meetings when this has been discussed, or we've seen it discussed ad infinitum online. And the long and short of it is the water department has an article for almost $7 million to put in a second water treatment plant to eliminate the manganese from the water, and at the same time to put in a new filter in the Trackle Pond treatment facility. Oh, and the one thing that I do know from a meeting I was in when it was presented is that every effort is going to be made by the water department to do as much of this as they can with the current rate structure. Those of us have been around for a few years remember probably 3, 4, 5 years ago, a new rate structure was put in place for the water customers. And that rate structure has generated some reserve funds that they've been able to tackle some projects. They've been able to build up the reserves just a bit, so that the initial feeling is that a good part of this plant, if not all of it, will be covered by the current rate structure. Any questions? Motion, please.
Make a motion that we recommend favorable action on Article 23, water manganese removal plant as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 5-0-0.
Carl, from your conversation with the water commissioners, this filter at the Trackle Pond treatment plant, is that something that needs to be done every couple of years?
That, I don't know. I'd always thought of this as the $7 million project, and when I saw the warrant articles the first time, I knew about a separate filter.
Yeah, well, okay. I didn't know that we needed to replace filters, especially expensive filters like that. $622,000. I'm just wondering how frequent that's going to come up. Okay.
Article 24 is to lease some town-owned property on Route 3 for billboards or outdoor advertising structures for term not to exceed 25 years with an estimated annual income to the town of $175,000. Any discussions?
It says see a separate handout. Do we have the handout?
We're working on it. We're gonna supply maps and what the billboards are gonna look like and all that. It's the, similar to the billboards on, in the Hanover Mall, those electronic ones.
Does our zoning allow for them?
Yeah.
Okay, and have we, all right, I have a ton of questions, so I'm going to abstain. So.
Okay.
Well, in the subject of revenue, we're always looking for ways to find some, and here's an opportunity, so I lean to favor it.
I agree 100%.
Is 175,000 realistic?
That's actually kind of low. That's actually, no, that's about exactly what it is, because we've already gone up to bid.
And do you have viable candidates from the
There
bid
was
process?
one proposal.
For both billboards? One
Yeah, they
vendor
did
for
both.
two?
Yes, yeah, they did Route 3 and Route 44. That was part of the proposal package. They had to bid both.
And so the contract for that is 175,000 minimum
Yeah.
for 25 years? All right, sign me up.
Make
I
a
have a
motion
motion.
that we recommend favorable action on Article 24, that the town solicit and accept proposals for the lease of town-owned property from outdoor billboards on 44 and Route 3.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. Article 25 is to lease some space on the offal pits for solar arrays with an estimated yearly income of $75,000. Any questions, discussion?
See motion 24.
Is the awful pits accessible? I thought there was that you couldn't get to it.
Correct, it's like, you can get to off of Raymond Road, but, you could consider it landlocked.
So how would the vendor get to it?
The one proposal we have is in the butter,
And who's the proposal from?
No fossil.
no
fuels.
fossil fuel.
Can I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion that we recommend favorable action on Article 25, the lease of town-owned property, the awful pits.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained,
Abstained.
302. Michelle, are you getting, when we have, an odd, an abstention or a
Yep,
opposition, who it is, so that
Yep.
we'll...
I got Mary and Sue down here.
Yeah, we'll especially need to know for town meeting when somebody wants to question whoever opposed something.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
I think I got them all.
I think I'm trying to. Article 26 is simply amending the zoning to allow for the solar arrays to go on Article 25 property if that one's passed. So if Article 25 doesn't pass, I suspect Article 26 will be withdrawn. Now, normally, I would have said that we don't need to vote on Article 26, but town council advised me at the prep meeting that if I was gonna vote on Article 25, I should probably have Finance Committee vote on Article 26. Therefore, can I have a motion?
Make a motion that we recommend favorable action for Article 26, amending the zoning map regarding the awful pits and solar arrays.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
Abstained.
302. Article 27 is to authorize an increase to the local room occupancy excise tax from the current 3% to 6%. This again is an item where we're looking to take the opportunity to increase revenue. This is always one that I have problems with, number one, I want to increase revenue from businesses whenever possible, but number two, I worry about discouraging businesses, so that I think it's a two-edged sword. I welcome any other comments.
How many hotels do we have in town right now? Just the one, just the Baymark or whatever?
Yeah, but there's a few bed and breakfasts in town.
Okay.
Maybe two.
Do we know what we're taking in for revenue for hotel excise right now?
70,000 sticks out in my head, but I'm not sure.
And have we talked to those business owners at all to see if this would hurt their business?
Nope,
No, we didn't talk to them, or no, we don't know
no,
the
we did
answer?
not talk to them.
Okay.
Do we know what Plymouth is taxed at?
Oh, I would imagine that. I don't know definitively. I would imagine.
I'm
I would hope they would be at
99%
the
sure
max.
it's 6%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I asked that because just don't want to send people to another town, yeah. for 3%.
Yeah, I don't know how many people actually look at the tax percent on there when they're booking a room. You
Yeah.
actually don't even really know until you leave. You do, and you would go to a different town because of that? I don't think I would, but, okay. That's a tough-
Motion, please.
Make a motion that we recommend favorable action on Article 27, amending room occupancy excise from 3 to 6%.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500. Article 29 is the,
Not being moved. That's what it
Tw-
says at the top.
28,
Oh, 29, I'm sorry. Sorry, my bad.
Article 29 is the town re-accepting the provisions of Section 20 of Chapter 32B concerning the establishment of an other post-employment benefits liability trust fund.
Motion to accept Article 29.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? 500. Article 30 is, the way I understand it, Gloria or Elaine can correct me if I'm wrong, is that this is kind of an accounting item where they're changing the process of the cable franchise fees currently being paid directly to PAC TV, and now the DOR is saying that it go first to the town. I can read pretty well, can I?
Get better with our descriptions.
I don't know, Mary, you may know something about this
Yeah,
from your
this is-
job.
yeah.
Does this make sense?
Yeah, and it's required.
Okay.
Yep, so there's not much room for negotiation.
No, and this is the last year they're requiring you to implement,
You
that
have
you're,
to do it.
yeah, this town meeting is the last chance you have, or the last bite at the apple to fix this.
Okay, with that, let's have a motion.
Make a motion that we recommend favorable action, Article 30, regarding the access provider, PAC TV.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500. Article 31 will allow the town to give tax exemptions to surviving parents or guardians of soldiers and sailors, members of National Guard and veterans, et cetera, et cetera. It may end up being that, you know, those of us who are just everyday taxpayers will be the only ones left paying taxes. But that might be sounding a bit like an editorial.
Can I just say one thing?
Yes.
We did reach out to the Veterans Office and talked to Priscilla and asked her, do we have anybody that's eligible for at this time? And she said no. So the widows they have right now of veterans that have passed, they get an exemption already, and the parents of those veterans have already passed, or they don't live in town. So we don't have anybody at this time that would this would impact.
And let's hope we never do.
So who, this is being brought by the Board of Assessors?
So I'll make a motion that we recommend favorable action on Article 31, adopting property exemptions for survivors of veterans,
Is
as
there-
written.
Second for discussion, just a quick question. Is there any state offset to this, or is it all
No,
goes straight
there's
through?
no reimbursement from the state whatsoever. That's why we figured it was important to find out if there was anybody eligible for it at this time, because we won't get reimbursed.
And, okay, so this is just accepting the provisions. We don't know what the amount of the exemption is. Is it a full? Is it in here?
It's not in here.
Do we know if it's a full exemption? I would imagine it's not.
Just,
Okay.
Amount of taxable valuation.
Where does it say that, sorry?
First
Oh,
page
which
article.
states that the real estate to the full amount of the taxable valuation of real property of the surviving, so it's a full exemption, okay.
There's a motion and a second on the table.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Opposed? 410. I believe Article 32 is the last one that we need to review. And it will provide the sewer commissioners a mechanism to enter into an agreement to defer charges for use of common sewers based on the requirements in Chapter 83, Section 16G. Elaine, do you want to say anything to this, since I know nothing about it?
Okay, yeah, what this does is allow sewer customers who are already receiving a deferral on their real estate taxes to also receive a deferral on their sewer user fees. And when the property is sold or the property owner's passed, then we are reimbursed with interest for the deferred payments.
From the sale.
Yeah.
So it's only people who are qualified for the real estate deferral?
Correct.
Okay. And do we have anybody who, I didn't think that we've implemented a real estate deferral program here.
The
We do,
assessors- yeah.
so do we have people on it?
Yes.
Okay.
And there's at least
And-
one sewer customer who would take advantage of this if
Okay.
passed.
Pain, but
Yeah, no, other communities do it. I'm familiar with the program and the process. There's just some discussion sort of in the industry about one of the dangers of this program, or people who enter into this kind of a program, is if they're in a reverse mortgage situation, that they could really be hurting themselves. So I don't know what kind of vetting or recommendation process we would go through before having people enroll in this program.
Yeah, that would be up to the assessors. I mean, because that's a requirement for us to even consider, so. But yeah, we can bring
Yeah, I
that.
just want to make sure we're not giving
Don't have
people
anything.
tools to sort of get themselves into really deep danger. But a deferral program is sort of a common thing, and it's a tool for some taxpayers who qualify for it. Okay. And I know communities who do this sewer betterment deferral program, so this is not a new thing.
Our reverse mortgages are exploding.
That's and that's sort of off to the side, but we don't want our taxpayers
Right.
to get in trouble. I mean, we all pay taxes, we all
Because in the
need to
end,
pay
we won't
taxes.
get it.
Motion, please.
Recommended, I make a motion that we vote favorable action on Article 32, the deferral of sewer charges.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500. Now,
On the interest rate of deferrals, so if we haven't accepted a lower rate, right? So we're at 8%.
8%.
Because the town has not, the town has the ability, if at a future town meeting, they want to set the rate to a different rate, otherwise you default to 8%, so this would be at 8%. Okay.
now I'd like to go back to Article 7.
Excuse me, just Article 45
Yeah,
The
that's
marijuana.
the 3%.
tax.
Okay.
45?
40, the
Yeah,
last
the last
one.
page.
One.
On the back.
It's the back page.
Okay, Article 45 is the marijuana tax provision. And the article will adopt a law that says the town has the authority to impose a 3% local sales tax on the sale or transfer of pot.
It doesn't say pot, but, all right.
It won't be in the
Any
minutes.
discussion?
3% is the max, and this would only apply if all the other pieces that are going to be well debated at town meeting go through.
That's
Okay.
why it's last.
Okay. Make a motion for Article 45.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500.
I think our position has been pretty clear on generating revenue, so if everything else goes through, then we should be at the max.
We're gonna go back to Article 7.
You don't wanna talk about marijuana? Come on.
No. I don't even wanna
Seven.
read about it.
All right, 7.
Article 7, we voted already, but there's gonna be a change that and correct me if I'm wrong, Gloria, the article reads, town appropriate the sum of $296,336 from surplus wastewater revenue. I understand that that's changing to $196,336 because Article 6 already included $100,000 from the wastewater surplus.
Right.
Well, we love when numbers go down.
So you're just.
Well, it's
looking
just
for the vote.
repocketing it.
Just
Well, we don't
revoting.
have the 100,000 to spend, that's why.
So just take 100 off of it, so it's gonna be 196.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I make a motion that we vote favorably for the amended Article 7 for wastewater in the amount of $196,336.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. So it would look to me like I can report back to the Gloria, or the town administration tomorrow, our votes on all articles except the equipment, the,
2.
Article 2, the
Transfers.
transfers for FY19 budget.
Can I just ask a question? For some reason, I didn't get your votes for the revolving funds on Article 14. I only got the first one. I think I must have missed something.
What, did we already vote them?
Yeah, I
There was
think
only
you
one
said
vote.
you already did that one. Oh, you didn't do the other one too?
It was one vote for the whole thing.
For the whole thing?
One for the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
050.
Oh, it was 050? I got 500. What did I get that? So for all of the revolving funds, it's 005?
Zero,
Or
zero,
050,
zero.
I'm sorry, 050 for all of them?
We-
Okay, thank you. That's what
So-
I did not have.
All right, so we've done all the warrant articles and budget, right?
Yes.
And so free cash, can we just look at that number again? On your,
Yes.
that schedule that you have?
Michelle, can you just get a half dozen copies of that?
Oh, sure.
Thanks.
Again?
Thank you. And do we have, or can I follow up with you and get a current balance of the stabilization account?
Yeah.
You know how you, I would get a copy of the bank statement from you for the,
I
can any,
just sent them out
okay,
this morning.
perfect. Then it's timely. Any chance you can forward that to me? Thank you.
So basically, the free cash here, after the November town meeting, we were with a certified balance of $1,533,000. With the items, the articles that we've just approved or recommend approval, we're spending $1,068,000, so we end up with a balance of $464,000.
With one caveat, though, that we said, if this, I would say that assumes that all of these items passed town meeting, but this one here didn't pass our committee tonight.
Right,
So,
right,
but this would be the assumption that this is what's being presented. Okay.
correct.
Yikes. Not where I'd like to see it, but you guys know my feeling on that. All right, so what do we have left?
I think we've,
So we're putting together the book.
right.
Okay. Now that we have all of the final details.
The town meeting motion assignments, did you wanna do those?
Yeah, that's,
It's kind of a big one.
should have done that while we were going through here. But, do I do the operating budget, or does the
You do?
moderator get to do that?
You get to do that one.
Okay, one of the things I should mention again, the moderator is going to present the budget at the, what I call the functional level, so that she's not going to read off every individual department. She's gonna be reading off, what do we call it? Security, general, operate, so it's about 8 line items, the subtotals that we
Where did
have.
that come about?
It came about with discussions with legal counsel and the moderator and the town administration, I believe. Elaine, do you have
Yeah.
anything?
It was actually legal counsel who suggested it. All the detail is still gonna be there, everything's gonna be there. But for example, general government, if somebody wants to put a hold on general government, they put a hold on it. Same with public safety or any of the other ones. So rather than reading every single line item, which is still gonna be available in the handout, when something's put on hold, you just address those particular departments within that category that they want to discuss.
So what does that do to the level of approval of the budget in terms of the way it's presented and voted at town meeting and movement within, across departments within that category?
Well, within, the article is for the 49 million. And then she reads the detail after that. So, what do you mean by movement within departments?
I think what she's getting at is what I discussed with Jay at the meeting, that transfers or expenditures between departments would still not be allowable.
Right. Jay was very specific about that.
Yeah. When I asked that question, that was the response, that we couldn't willy-nilly going, I said my concern was going forward, does that mean that police and fire could be charged interchangeably?
It's still bottom line for each category.
For each department?
Yes,
Right.
that's,
So we
Right.
are held to the level of each department. We're held to the level that's printed in the book,
Yes.
not the level that's read off.
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
It's still a detailed budget, they're just not gonna read as many lines.
Okay, because in some cases, it changes the level of authorization when you do that.
Correct.
And so that's what my question is, are we changing our business practice now?
No,
Not at all.
absolutely not, he said that, he was very specific with that.
Okay.
okay. So, with that being said, Article 3, I guess that I will make the motion.
Would you like your names printed in the warrant, or do you just want finance committee?
Give Carl Billing, Carl Pike, P-I-K-E.
Chairman Carl Pike.
Okay.
I would put their names.
Okay.
It'll be a reminder for them to know which
The
ones.
signal for Carl to jump up.
To stand up.
Nine.
Yep.
Mary, would you like to do Article 9?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay, let's have Mary do Article 9.
Article 19.
Sue Mumford will do Article 19. Transfer to stabilization fund. Laura, would you like to do that, or Karen?
That's an easy one.
I suppose.
Alora, you win the prize.
So 19 is not Sue, it's Alora?
No,
No,
19 is Sue,
20.
20 is,
Oh, I'm sorry. 19 is Sue and 20 is Alora. Okay.
I hope there's one for Karen.
No, thanks.
Wait,
I
aren't you
respectfully
always supposed to
decline.
just assign them to the people who aren't at the meeting? I
Yeah,
think we're going about this
that's-
wrong.
Jeff can have mine if he wants it.
That's a little risky.
I think that's probably it.
Yeah.
Oh, you can give mine to Jeff, that's totally fine.
I wouldn't depend upon Jeff being here.
That is true.
Mary has been good enough to do a lot of work on the budget package that we have usually presented at town meeting, just showing some of the historical numbers, comparisons, et cetera. So I think that I would like to have another meeting 2 weeks from tonight in order to finalize that, to go over any open items that may come up during the next 2 weeks. Does that sound reasonable?
I
We
can't
had-
make the 23rd, but do what you guys are gonna do.
Okay.
Just letting you know.
Can I email this out? I think it would make more sense for me to email this out to the committee members. It's not anything decision-making related. It's, formatting and double checking for accuracy. So, and then that, I think that would make our process faster and more efficient. Okay. What'd you say, the 20? what?
23rd, I think it is.
And there's that one article or item that you put on hold.
Oh, that we can take up that night, yeah, which would
Right.
be great. All right, so that's a Tuesday, the 23rd, okay. Same time, same bat channel?
Same time, yes.
Shoot us an email for the conference room, please.
I'm sorry?
I'm just asking Kyle to shoot us an email about the conference room, just to make sure.
I think it may have been already on the schedule,
Oh.
but I always double check.
I know, yeah.
And this might be the meeting that I've been trying to schedule for Jones River Tavern anyhow, so.
I'd love to go to that. I'll buy you around.
When I do these, because this one's excessive, I'm not gonna print exactly what's in the warrant articles for each one of these, right?
No.
Oh, no.
Okay.
The article, name, and
Yeah,
vote.
yeah,
That's it.
exactly.
Whew, gosh, no.
Thank you, Sue and Karen, for taking most of those, so I can copy and
Just
paste.
throw it in a table. Yeah, keep it simple. Yeah.
Entitled.
Okay, does anybody else have anything that they want to put on the table or discuss? We will schedule the next meeting for April 23rd at 6:30 PM.
Are we
Good.
posted for town meeting? If not, can we get posted?
Mhm.
Yeah,
I'll
we have not
handle it.
posted, please.
Yeah, and
Yep.
I think we changed the way we word it and just says, post it once,
Yep.
and then for all
Yep,
adjourning
I got your
sessions or.
thing
what-
from last.
Motion
year.
to adjourn?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're done.
8:35.
Bye.